Hi there, everybody. I'm Fred Thomas, and you are watching All Things Bike. And today we are speaking with Erin Whipple, founder and owner of Main Street Energy Lab. Erin, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, anytime. Now, your website is comprehensive, it's great, but there was this one engaging, captivating thing on it, which was you in your About section, you said, I never thought of myself as an athlete. And yet, here you are running a coaching service, racing all over the place. What was the moment when you made that transformation?
It wasn't a one moment. I think it was definitely a process.
Sure.
But I think when I finished Ironman Lake Placid in 2012, I was like, wow, well, I'm an athlete.
I can do this.
I can do this. Yeah. But the progression of that was, I mean, I grew up riding horses and fly fishing with my dad and doing those types of things. I wasn't a runner or biker or anything.
Yeah.
And then one day I was like, I think I'll go for a run today. And this was in college, and I went for a run, and I couldn't run very far. And
12 miles? Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, like half a mile.
Yeah.
And then it sort of progressed. And one day I had a girlfriend from college. I was here living in Maine, and she said, I'm going to do a triathlon, and would you want to do it with me? And I was like,
whatever for.
I was like, sure, I'll go do this with you. And I was in my early 20s, and I went and did the race. I had a mountain bike. I wore my bathing suit. Wow. I knocked everyone's bike over in the transition area. It was a 3-mile run, and a mile and a half into the run, I had to walk for the rest of the way.
Wow.
And I was like, that was awesome.
Oh, right.
I want to do that again.
Wow.
And so then I just started learning bits and bits and teaching myself, and progressed to the point of I'm going to do an Olympic distance.
And what is that?
So the distance is basically double. So a sprint distance.
Like a 5-mile run, or no, 3-mile run?
Pretty much.
Well,
yeah, it's some. They all sort of differ.
Right.
Some of the swims are pretty short, and it could be a 13-mile bike ride, 12-mile bike ride, 3-mile run, 3.2, and then it progresses to Olympic distance, which is double that distance,
and then everybody's heard of the Ironman, where you're swimming 3 miles, you ride 110 miles, and then you swim or you run a marathon.
Right.
And so
it's a 2.4-mile swim, 110-mile bike ride, or 112. And then it varies. Some are 110, some are 114, and then a marathon. Yeah,
right. Mind-boggling distances, and I mean, it's amazing how triathletes do it. And so I mean, and they must need a coach, because it's hard. I mean, training for triathlon is really hard. I mean, when did you really start offering your coaching experience or your coaching expertise to other people?
So. When I decided to do my first half Ironman, I decided I need a coach, because this is getting bigger. Yeah. So I learned a ton from that coach, and then I moved on and had another coach for Ironman. And then I basically took a break. I also had 4 children in this period of time, and I was working. I have a master's in public policy and management.
So triathlons are pretty easy. I mean,
kind of. It's a lot. And one day I was sitting in front of the computer doing research for a company, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I have to do my passion, and my passion is coaching and doing endurance sports, and I needed to make that my goal.
Bravo.
And I spoke to my husband, and it was going to be a big salary change and a big change for our family, and he's like, you got to do it. It's what you love. And so started coaching about 4 years ago. I started with just getting my personal training. So I'm ACE certified personal trainer.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't just sort of start riding and sort of coaching. You went to school. You went to you got your ACE and Ironman University. And USA Triathlon.
Yep.
I mean, talk about what it takes to do all those
programs. So I started out with the ACE personal training certification because really they talk a lot about exercise physiology, physical anatomy, nutrition, all of those things. So I felt like it was a good foundation, like to build off of, to learn everything. And they're great too, because they do a lot of client rapport, and which is one of my big focuses, is that you really have to know the person that you're working with, because everybody's so different. I work with moms who are like me, who have 4 kids and have a job, and how do you incorporate and train for an Ironman or even a sprint distance when you're going all the time? Or I have athletes that I train with that have all the time in the world, and they can just train. So, but you need to get to know that person and pretty much everything about their schedule and their life. So going back to the ACE, after I got my ACE certification, I got my USA Triathlon Certification, which basically requires you go to a clinic for about 2.5 days, and then you do online testing, which is like short answer, long answer, writing a training plan, et cetera, going through background checks, all these other things. And then from there I got, which really, so it was, they definitely stepped on one another as building. And the Ironman University one really focuses on periodized training plans that focus on long course, and long course refers to half Ironman distance and Ironman distance. But the majority of my clients are, I have a few people that really focus on Ironman, but I have a lot of people that also just really want to get healthy and strong.
Yeah, I mean, talk about that. I mean,
you don't have to have an event.
Exactly. You don't have to be a triathlete.
No, you don't have to be a triathlete. You don't have to be a bike racer. You don't have to be, you can just want to be healthy.
Be fit,
and have a healthy lifestyle, and sometimes you need a coach for that. The biggest thing that I find that my clients need is somebody that's checking in with them and making sure they're actually following the plan. So it's accountability, right? And the other piece is somebody to make sure that you're not going too hard all the time. You know, there's a lot of time where you're not going hard. And that's the way we progress, is by taking those easy days, by having recovery. In order to be able to go back and then recruit those muscles you need, or to not get injured.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the classic trap that everyone falls into. They overtrain, they get burnt out, and then they get frustrated, and then they don't want to do it anymore. But are your clients from all around Maine, or are they scattered all over the country? Or
so majority are in Maine, but they're really all over the country. I mean, I worked with a traveling nurse who lived in Hawaii, who lived in Afghanistan. I've worked with people living in DC. I have a client in New York City, so really all over.
That's great. But you have also a physical location in Yarmouth, I think, Main Street. And describe that location and what goes on there.
So it's at 298 Main Street. It's a small studio space. And it's great to have the space to meet with clients, to do personal training, because I do one-on-one strength training, things like that. And I also do Trx Strength Training classes, so which is great. That really Trx. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
No, describe it. It's something we'd like to know more.
They're bands. They're not stretchy bands. They're like hard, kind of like cords in a way, and you use your own body weight to do the movements. So it's a lot of single leg, a lot of balance, and it's a lot of core movements.
So you're on the floor on a mat.
Well, you could be on a floor, but you're also standing, you're leaning back. It's how you position your body. If you're facing the TRX bands and you put your feet close to them and you lean back, you're doing upper arm, you're gonna, the closer you get to those bands, the harder the workout gets, because of your body position angled either this way or this way. And the majority of the movements that you do, you are in a plank position. So
I mean, and it sounds like that's something that you don't just sort of on your own just get up and start doing effectively. It might be helpful to have some guidance.
And I like to have my studio is pretty small. I have 6 bands, so it's a small group, because I like to focus on form and really having that one-on-one connection. I'm really a big proponent of staying away from any injuries. So I like to be able to watch and do that. So I also, in the winter or the fall months, I start a cycling class. The Wahoo kicker setup. So
how does that work?
So I have 8 Wahoo kickers, computer, big screen, projector. I run 2 10-week sessions. People come in. I have classes every morning and every night, pretty much, and they're all types of athletes. I have triathletes, I have just pure cyclists, racers, wannabe racers. the majority of my clients are men that are just trying to stay in shape, want to stay in shape to be able to go on their hard group rides once summer comes, and be able to go crush it with their buddies.
What else is there to do?
Right, exactly. So, and it's kind of fun. And I do tailor those classes more specifically to that type of personality in a way. Like, they want to come in and they want a really hard workout.
Wow.
So when they come in, I test them. I test their power.
Right, so it's all power meter. Is it a Strava, or not Strava, what's the other one?
So
Zwift?
it's not Zwift, because Zwift doesn't have right now a multi-rider platform. So Perf Pro right now is the only studio platform other than Wahoo Kicker. The Wahoo does have one, but what they don't have, I don't believe yet, is what the one company that I'm working with, what they have is they have courses from all over, right? Yeah, and I can put in, so I can build my own workouts and have a course. So they ride the elevation of the course. They ride the course while trying to hit the intervals. Right. So what that does is it mimics the exact same thing as how I would train my athletes out in the summer, right? If you have an interval to hit here, you don't necessarily know when you're going to hit that hill. You don't know, but you're still riding at that same power. You're trying to hit the power even if it's on a downhill.
Right. And is there a video of a scene of
there's
bikes?
There's no scene. Nope. But everybody has like all their own data, and you see where you are on your course.
Oh yeah, no, that's great. I mean, that's just light years away from how so many people used to do it. On the trainer, the trainer with none of this digital stuff in the basement with a single light bulb, in a cold, dark room. I mean, this just sounds like something you might want to do even in the summer. Yeah,
and I've thought about that, but it's really fun. Like, when we end the classes, everybody's like, "Oh, come on, one more class, let's keep going." Wow. And I'm like, no, it's time to be on the road now. Go outside, and I think one of the things that does is people then are excited to come back in the fall. They're ready for it, and it's good. You have to have, I think, the balance and the combination.
Variety.
I've been doing it for about 4 years, so a lot of the groups are pretty established. Like, they can't wait to see one another again.
Oh, yeah.
They're all sort of buddies.
Of course. So they're off-season training crowd.
Yeah.
Well, describe some of the programs that you offer, or the services. You've got individual and buddy.
Okay, so I have individual. I do the TRX classes. I do the cycling classes in the winter, and I do online coaching. I have a track group that I do every Tuesday night. That is a drop. I mean, people can drop in. It's at the Yarmouth High School track, and
running. Yeah. So okay. Right.
Yep.
So you get out there
running. Yep. It's good. Super fun. We usually have between 10 and 17 people who show up, and we run intervals on the track, and I sort of cater them to what your best mile time would be.
Right. Well, and do you have to? I mean, do you arrive at every? I mean, you can't be everywhere at once, right? So for the scheduled stuff, you're there,
right?
But do you actually, for some clients, you ride out on the road and go on a training ride with them?
Absolutely.
Or go for a swim? Or
I had a client recently who's training for Ironman Lake Placid, and she was really nervous about the course and riding the course and the distance and the elevation and all of that. And she said, "Is there any chance you'd go out there with me and ride with me?" And I was like, "Sweet, absolutely, I will." I mean, it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to go ride. So we went out there, we swam the course, we rode the course, we did 2 loops. It was awesome, and then we went out and ran the next day. So.
Wow! So just like a race preview. So that's one of the services that you offer, a sort of a race specific training. But then you'll go for a swim too if someone is nervous about swimming in the ocean or anything. Yep.
This morning, if you can see the goggle marks, I was swimming with an athlete of mine and another friend, and it was just epic. And
good. We'll talk about some of the gear. I just want to do a geek out thing here. I mean, what's the most popular or the most versatile time trial bike out there for a triathlete who's got to do the bike leg? And what's a good not swimsuit, but a wetsuit? And shoes. I mean, what would be sort of a good selection for that kind of equipment?
So as far as TT bikes go, there are so
Exactly.
There's so much out there. It really depends on the client and even their body and their body shape and all of those things. Just how it fits. I really would say go try different bikes.
Or get the one that fits, right?
Get the one that fits for you, feels the best for you, especially for a long course, because you can be on that for a long time.
So do you have references? I mean, are you able to refer people to a bike fitting?
Yep, I typically refer people to Jared Buzzle from OA.
He was on the show.
Yeah. He's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's typically, he's sort of my go-to for that.
Perfect.
And I mean, I've had people come in and I've done a little bit of a help with a bike fit. People that don't want to spend, or some of these clients like, can you just check my knee position? Can you do this? I mean, I can do that, but that's not my specialty, and I'd rather send them to somebody that's their expertise.
Right.
And
how about wetsuits?
So wetsuits, once again, you got to try them on. You got to see what works, because everybody's body type is different. And unfortunately, sort of one of the things that I've found, and probably the same thing with TT bikes, the more money you spend, the better product you get.
Yeah,
and that's particularly true, I feel like, with wetsuits. You have to find a good company.
And then it becomes possible to actually put it on and actually take it off.
To help you for the buoyancy and for everything. Yeah.
Well,
or whether you want sleeveless or not sleeveless, or how thick you want it.
But you're able to provide. I mean, all that is bewildering to me. But you have experience with it, so you're able. That's part of the coaching.
I can suggest certain companies to go to and help them, and then they come to me and they're like, I found this one for this much money. What do you think about that? And I'm like, that's good. Or
no, but I mean, they're not calling you though. I mean, that's one of the sort of the perceptions or challenges or maybe difficulties of coaching is that sometimes you're on call all the time.
That is sometimes is a challenge, and especially like I think the first couple of years I worked all the time. I was on my because the app that I use Training Peaks as an online coaching for my online coaching, and so I would get emails consistently of when an athlete walked in the door with their Garmin and their Garmin registered their computer. It's a dang email to me. It would pop up on my phone. I'm like checking it out. I'm responding to them day and night, weekends, and it got to be a little bit much. And now I try to say, okay, I've got these hours and this is when I work. Not that I don't get back to the athlete, but I've sort of figured out how to manage it a little bit better. It is a challenge.
Yeah, no, well,
but if there's an emergency or there's something like, I'm right there.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, I'm sure everyone who's looking for a coach is going to want that. And what about the reward? I mean, you work with a lot of athletes, and they go off and they do an event and they have a great result. Can you tell us some stories or outcomes of some of your athletes who have started at a very entry-level state and ended up hitting their goals?
I'm probably not specific,
in general terms,
but generally, I mean, even to have athletes that are the best ones for me are the people that are sort of scared, terrified. They haven't done it. They're new to this. And the hardest part for them is getting to the start line of that race, of just taking the first step and going, and them finishing and being like, holy cow, I did this thing I was so afraid of. And it doesn't matter how long it took them. It doesn't matter any of that, just the fact that they actually went through the process, they got there and they completed it and did it is one of the best rewards as far as I get as a coach.
Sure.
And then I do have those athletes that I've been working with for a while that started here, and we've gone here, and then they were back, and then all of a sudden it's boom, I did it. I finally got there, and that's really cool too.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, you mentioned Training Peaks as the software that you use, and I mean, how is that evolving? I mean, technology and coaches. I mean, where is it going?
There's a lot. There's so much data and so much you can use.
Power data and
power meter, power for running now, right? There's
swimming too, or I mean, walking, Fitbits.
I mean, there's everything. It's sort of data overload. Some of it is really good and it's really important, but I also find that it can be very overwhelming to athletes. And to sometimes step away from the data and just listen to your own body, listen to what it's telling you, is so much more important and beneficial, and sometimes can take the pressure off. As far as what's available to use for coaching, and that some of the stuff is just invaluable to know. I mean, just looking at the data and knowing, like, okay, recovery, how much recovery is needed, what's the training load, what do I need to get this person to in order to know they're going to be able to do this event the way they wanted to do the event. Being able to look at those numbers plays a big role. I mean, anything can happen on race day, as we both know, but that data really does help guide their training.
Well, and so you are looking, I mean, the athlete goes out, they do their race, and then or their training ride, and they send you the data, and you parse through it, and come
and it's all cumulative. It's all over either a year or 2 years, or sometimes 6 months or 3 months, and it's all building.
And you learned all that just from your own experience initially, and then fine-tuned it at the various institutions. Wow. That's fantastic. Well, what about, you're still racing, right?
I'm still racing,
Okay, great. So what's on the horizon in terms of races?
So this year I just did a half Ironman in Chattanooga, which was great. It was beautiful. Chattanooga is an amazing city, highly recommended. I wouldn't have known that it was an amazing city, but it was great.
We need to get out as much as we can. And, I mean, and this is, I mean, was it warm? Was this? Did you say
it was so
summer?
hot. It was like 98 degrees that day. It was incredibly hot. And I recently started doing some TT races.
That's right. Yeah, we saw you at the Maine Time Trial Series.
Yep.
And how's that going? I mean,
it's really fun. What a great group of people. And so inviting and welcoming, and of course they're donating the funds to really good causes, which is wonderful. I love that aspect. And for me, so even though I'm a pretty seasoned, I would call an athlete now, I'm finally comfortable saying I'm an athlete. Even for me, going to a race creates a lot of anxiety for me. And it's a lot of pressure. And so I've been really trying to work for myself and getting over that race anxiety. So I started doing these TT races to help with the anxiety. It's not my end goal to be a TT racer. My end goal is to be a good athlete, half Ironman and Ironman distance. But getting through that process of being, the countdown of, we're going to go now.
It's always a little intimidating, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes, and especially the Maine Time Trial Series. It's a very relaxed environment.
It is. It's a perfect environment just to get in there.
Yeah, but you get practice turning up on time, and practice warming up properly, and practice pinning your number, and
all of the elements.
The only thing that's different is there's no ramp. You don't have to go down the ramp or anything like that. That's wonderful, Erin. Well, thanks so much for coming down and telling us about the service, and good luck at the next event.
Thank you. So I'll be doing Ironman Chattanooga in October.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
You got plenty of time.
Yes, I do. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you. All right, everybody, that was Erin Whipple of Main Street Energy Labs, and you can learn more about her services by searching that on the internet, and you can stop by because she has a physical location in Yarmouth, Maine. That's all we've got time for right now. Thanks so much for watching, and we will talk to you again soon.
All Things Bike with Fred Thomas is brought to you by XeNTiS, performance carbon wheels handmade in Austria for road and off-road riding. XeNTiS, next generation wheels. And Frame and Wheel eBay bike selling services. Time, space, cash. Pick 3. And AD Bikes, the modern face of Austro Daimler cycling and the bike company of the future.